Hello everybody and welcome back to Expert Examiner IELTS. My name is Glyn and in this video we have another writing check. It's an IELTS academic essay writing task 2 and we start as always by reading the question, making sure that we understand the question perfectly and thinking a little bit about structure. Okay, news media, that's the focus here, news media. What is news media? Things like BBC, CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, Russia Today, those channels or organizations or companies that give us the news. News media have become increasingly sensational. You might think this is a mistake, right? Have. Media is actually the plural form of medium. Media has is heard very often nowadays, but media have, is maybe, according to purists, more correct. But anyway, news media have become increasingly sensational and focused on negative events. So sensational means dramatic, clickbait. They want to talk about explosions and horror and things like this. And it's terrible. It's the end of the world. Very dramatic. And, similar to this, focused on negative events. So that's not the part that we discuss, right? It's not how true is this. This is the anchor. This is the thing that we should consider to be true. And then based on this axiom sentence, we have these two questions. What impact does this, the increasingly sensational nature of news media and the increasingly negative news coverage, what impact does this have on individuals, people, you, me, and society, people in general? So really should cover both of those things. And secondly, what can be done to reduce negative effects? So, maybe it's people who can do it, maybe it's governments who can do it, or maybe it is the news media themselves, or maybe other news media can come and replace it with more rational, realistic, positive news stories. Who knows what the ideas are, but you have to offer some kind of solution to this problem. So yeah, quite a lot to get our teeth into here. So news media has become increasingly sensational and focused on negative events. Those things, you could consider to be one. What impact does this have on individuals and society? That's going to be our body paragraph 1. What can be done to reduce the negative effects? That's going to be our body paragraph 2. In our conclusion, we're going to summarize those main ideas. And also, I think here, perfect for some type of reflective comment from the essay writer. In the introduction, I like to have one background sentence, about news media in general, then some reference to this sentence here, the fact that it's become increasingly sensational and focused, but paraphrase it, and then just tell me what you're going to do in this essay, that you're going to talk about the impact and the solutions. That's what I think would be the best approach to the introduction, but let's see what the candidate has. First thing I always do is check the number of words and the balance. So here we can see, okay, introduction is a little short, conclusion is a little short, but that's okay. Most of the information is in the body paragraphs, that's good. Kind of looks a little bit long. About 300 words, 307 words, so just inside the Glyn limit. Of course, IELTS has no upper limit, right? The lower limit, right, at least 250 words. There is no upper limit, but my upper limit is 310 words. I don't check essays more than 310 words because I feel it's totally unnecessary to write that many words. And it's good practice for people to write more concisely, to write their ideas in a clearer way. But let's see what our candidate has in this day and age. Okay, very nice broad scope here. In this day and age, news outlets have emphasized why present perfect in this day and age they have before. So I don't know why present perfect is used here. There seems to be a mismatch between this in this day and age. You could say in recent times, news outlets have emphasized, But this verb form, have emphasized, doesn't really match with this general present in this day and age, this time adverbial. Okay. Have emphasized negative and sensational news. Okay, a little bit mechanical with the paraphrase. It's not really, this talks about a trend. News outlets have emphasized negative and sensational news. It just looks, the key to a good paraphrase, I think, is that it's not immediately obvious that you are just trying to paraphrase bits of language. And for me, it's pretty obvious that that's what you're trying to do. Personally, I think, okay, you're not really asked to give your opinion, are you? You're supposed to talk about the impact that it has and what can be done to reduce. But let's see. Personally, I also think personally, and I think is a little bit overkill, one or the other. They both have the same functional role, stating, this is my opinion. So personally, this problem, or I think this problem, I think this problem has detrimental effects, okay, fine, on both individuals and society. Okay, this essay will explore, those impacts, nice, and propose viable solutions to combat them. Okay, cool, I like this setup. This sets up the reader very nicely so that the reader knows what to expect. So, from the introduction, I can say that, the initial paraphrase is a little bit mechanical, but this, this part, no problem. Great. So, of course, we care mostly about the body paragraphs. The introduction should just be nice and clear so that we know what we're talking about. The conclusion should just be a nice short reminder of what we've spoken about. But the real meat or mushroom or bean patty in this burger is going to be the body paragraphs. So let's have a look at the impact on individuals and society. One major impact lies that we're getting straight in there. One major impact of news media becoming sensational and negative events driven, is the reduction of empathy. Okay, the idea is very, very clear. I'm a little bit, sometimes the best topic sentences for me are the ones that are like, yeah, of course it does. Now, news media becoming sensational, does that make us less empathetic? Possibly. Let's see how the candidate does with the explanation. When people's social media lives are surrounded by, can your social media life be surrounded by something? I don't know. Consist of, maybe. Surrounded by negative and misleading news, well, misleading, maybe sensational and misleading, possibly. They will no longer show empathy. Okay, your subject here is not people. Your subject here is people's social media lives. And now you want to use they to refer to those. These people, you could use these people as the subject. But when you say they, and when you say they, you are talking about the people, not their social media lives. But there is a breakdown, that is, bit of a breakdown in cohesion, where this pronoun doesn't really reference this noun group. Okay, they will no longer show empathy and compassion towards people experiencing real difficulties. For me, this is an overgeneralization. It's not that they will no longer show empathy, it's that it might result in people showing less empathy. So it's too simplistic, it's too much of a generalization. Okay. Where are we? Show empathy and compassion towards people experiencing real difficulties as they believe that those stories are not true. Yeah, I don't think that's, it's okay. The support is clear. It's understandable. I just don't think it's academically persuasive. It relies a little bit on, simplification and overgeneralization. Really nice that we go on the societal level. This is great. On the societal level, exaggerated stories by news media can lead to the spread of misinformation. and people distrusting, we want distrusting, not distrust, lead to somebody doing something, lead to people distrusting the media. Okay, show why this is relevant, perhaps. In order to attract audiences and their interactions, I don't know what that means. Many news outlets choose to distort the truth, good, and sensationalize information. Cool, but let's see where this is going. If this kept happening in the future, I think in such an essay, I think first conditional is realistic, because we're talking about a realistic future event. We're not just hypothesizing here. So if this keeps happening, I think is better. Misinformation will be all over the internet, following that first conditional, predictive conditional, comma, which can make people lose their trust in media. So again, the support is clear, it's easy to understand, but I don't think the candidate has done a great job of persuading, not me, Glyn, persuading the hypothetical reader that society will distrust the media more, and even why that's really a relevant impact. But it's all right. It's clear enough. I'd say, band 7-ish for task response. But let's see so far. So let's see now about the measures. What can we do to reduce these effects? There are some measures that should be taken. Okay, so I don't really like topic sentences that just tell me, like, there are some measures. I know it's in the question that you have to do that, and you've mentioned it here, right? You'll propose viable solutions. You've said that you're going to do that, so you don't need to tell me again that there are viable solutions, because you've already mentioned this in the introduction. Start your body paragraph with one possible solution to this problem is da, 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 da. One way to solve the problem is da, 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 da. We don't need this. Firstly, the government should place a heavy financial punishment. Good use of article here. A heavy financial punishment, very easy to miss it. A heavy financial punishment on news media which publish fake and negative information. Oh no, academically you can't make that argument. You can't. So this is your argument, right? Fine news media which publish negative information. Fake information, I'm on board. Negative information, this is academically problematic for a number of reasons. Firstly, who decides what negative information is? Secondly, let's imagine a situation where a famous person is assassinated. Would you really fine? Would you give a financial punishment to a news media for reporting on the death of a famous person? So that argument is cuckoo land. This can somehow somehow, I don't like this use of somehow, like this is your academic essay, right? This is your chance to explain your ideas clearly. When you go, this can somehow, I don't know how, but somehow, yeah, it's not academic. This can somehow demotivate those media outlets. I don't know about demotivate, but maybe dissuade is better here, like persuade and dissuade. This can somehow demotivate those media outlets since money is of paramount importance to them. Okay, of paramount importance, very nice vocab. Additionally, good signposting. This can also act as a deterrent to other news media intending to spread, well, it is, you're kind of saying that financial punishment would be a good deterrent for media outlets, and also you're saying it's going to act as a deterrent to other news media. I think you've made that point twice, that financial punishment will be a deterrent. intending to spread negative and misleading information. Furthermore, okay, a little bit mechanical now. We get additionally, furthermore, need to be a bit more skillful with your connectives. Furthermore, the government should provide citizens with free training on assessing credibility, the credibility of. So often with these of phrases, we often use this article, the of. Of course, some exceptions when we talk about quantity, like a number of, a lot of, on assessing the credibility of news sources. I mean, free training, I don't know, maybe introduce it into schools or something like this. I like that idea. Education is always the answer. This can help them evaluate. And again, when you say it can help them, what? Government, citizens, news sources, them. So this word them, it's not immediately obvious what them refers to. This can help them evaluate whether a piece of news is trustworthy or not, making them less vulnerable. Nice use of participle there, very nice. Making them less vulnerable to the negative effects of sensational reporting. Good. In conclusion, good signposting, the loss of empathy and compassion and the spread of fake news are the impacts of negative and sensational reporting. And by imposing strict financial penalties on news outlets and educating citizens to distinguish between reliable and misleading information, the government can tackle this issue. Okay, so nice, simple summary of the main ideas. I think a little bit of a reflective comment, I think, would add a nice touch to finish it off. But okay, a decent performance, a very decent performance by this candidate. Let's get into marks. So task response. For me, task response here is a score of 7. Why? Well, firstly, the positives. You've answered this question. You've spoken about individuals and society. You've also offered some solutions. Cool. You've attempted to support your arguments, but the support is a little bit weak and it relies on simplification or some kind of weirdly unrealistic solution, like fining companies that report on negative information. You have to explain that maybe a little better. But, 7, all parts of the prompt are addressed, all good stuff. Support is a little bit weak. Okay. Coherence and cohesion. Again, for me, this is a 7. So really nice body paragraphs. I like the topic sentence here. Internally, there's good, internal logic, internal sequencing is pretty good. There's just a couple of things that I don't like. I don't like this additionally, furthermore, it makes it sound a bit mechanical. And also you have a couple of cases of pronouns like them, where it's not really clear what the pronoun is talking about. There was another one with they earlier. Yeah, I can't see where that they is, but there was definitely, let's have a look at they. Yeah, it's this they. It's this they. They doesn't refer to people's social media lives, it refers to people. And so there are faulty bits of cohesion in there. Coherence is okay, it's easy enough, it's readable, no real critical breakdowns where I had to reread stuff. Okay, lexical resource is very strong. There are a couple, maybe demotivate is fine. I just thought dissuade is probably better. That demotivate, but okay, it's fine. Of paramount importance, I really like the credibility of, very nice news sources. Interactions feels a little bit strange here, surrounded by slightly strange, but I do think there's enough good lexical resource in there for an 8. And grammatical range and accuracy, I'm also going with the 8. Very few mistakes, present perfect slightly incorrectly used, a couple of missed articles, bit of second conditional instead of first conditional, those are not the type of mistakes L1 users would make, but certainly those mistakes don't stop me from understanding exactly what the candidate means. So the candidate's ideas are very clear. The argumentation is a little bit weak. You'd need slightly better essay writing skills, critical thinking skills and so on to get that score higher, but very, very strong. Overall, this gives a score of 7.5, putting that candidate in that lovely, strong C1 zone. Language is great, really knocking on the door, C1, C2 in terms of accuracy of language. It's just, candidate knows what an essay should look like, but can the candidate build persuasive arguments in an academic and meaningful way? If they can, then that will be enough to push them to an 8. A little bit of practice with a good teacher. I think a good teacher, 1 month, and you should be okay for the 8 there. But for me, this is a score of 7.5. Yeah. So let me know what you think. Are my marks too generous? Are my marks too harsh? Am I exactly right? Nobody ever tells me when they think that my marks are right. Everybody tells me when they think that my marks are too high or too low. But that's okay. It's okay. It's YouTube. If you'd like me to check your IELTS writing tasks, or if you'd like a free practice speaking test with feedback, I collect all of my candidates on my Telegram channel or my Facebook group. Links are given in the description. Candidates are chosen randomly. If you'd like to avoid this random lottery and you'd prefer to pay for a speaking test, then information on how you can do that is on my website, expertexaminer.com. More videos coming soon, but for now, bye-bye.